Alright my friends, Brian with VetteSource back at it again on Friday, where today we're getting a reprieve from our sauna-like heat. The humidity lifted for us, and in Houston that means it's about 40%, but man, I got a really nice breeze. I've had a couple of days, so I'm going to go ahead and get out here, take advantage of the nice weather to finish up the work on the second of the two Corvettes we need to do brake work on. Of course, we did this one the other day, the Orange Flame 76 car. That turned out really well. The car drove great yesterday. We took it out for a little bit of cruise. Brakes worked really nice, and I actually drove that car a little bit quicker than I normally do. I don't cruise. I mean, I basically cruise this one because it's a pretty lowly 165 horsepower car from the mid-70s, but it's a lot faster than I thought it would be, even with that kind of low sluggish horsepower rating. But it runs really good, brakes really well, and that was my big thing. So today I'm going to focus on the old Street Warrior here, our 69 Daytona Yellow 427 Corvette. Now, I haven't really talked much about this car. Excuse me. This car, if you really kind of want me to put a label on this is kind of the alpha, the prime Corvette for me. This is the one that excuse me, really helped me to figure out that what I really wanted to do was monetize my hobby, because, you know, I've mentioned in a few of my videos I'm a Corvette junkie, and this car pretty much solidified for me what I needed to do to make that happen, as far as me being involved with the Corvette business for forever, basically. You know, I knew, luckily, that I wanted to settle in with something, obviously Corvettes, and this car just kind of helped me visualize that in my mind. Now, real quick, for you guys that may not be familiar with some of the older Corvettes, this is a 69 Daytona Yellow 427, 390 horsepower. So this is considered to be the baby 427s for the year. It's a single carburetor, oval port heads with a smaller cam in it, kind of almost like a RV truck cam, but it is a massive motor, of course, that runs really well. And in 69 they made a little over 10,000 427 390 horses. Engine code is an L36 on this car. Now, I first knew about this car from 1994. We're gonna go in the Wayback Machine here, and I finally acquired it in 1997 towards the end of the year. So this has been a stable here, or in the stable, or in the VetteSource stable, for 23 years, almost 23 years now. This is kind of the I don't know, it's the perma inventory kind of car, you know. But it's definitely, while we've been the caretaker of this, it's been a neat car. Now, I will say that, like everything else in life, if you've gotten the middle age or above like me, you realize that sometimes life gets in the way and some things have to sit and wait. So for many of the last several years, close to 20, I have not really touched this car very much. It's been kept in stasis, hibernation, kind of a semi-retirement. But I will tell you this car is original. It's never been restored. I will never restore it as long as it's in my possession over here with my business. It'll just be basically a car that's maintained, because, again, I'm not against restored cars, but this is just the way I like them. I like them original. I like them with, you know, beauty marks on them, if you will, or even, you know, badges of honor of the street duty that they've served. I can tell you right now, too, if you listen, you hear the way that door shuts? That's the way an original Corvette shuts. And what's really cool to me is, you know, in addition to the sound and the look and the feel of Corvettes or cars in general, I really like the original sights and smells back then. And in the 60s they used a very particular glue to put these cars together with, and you can smell it. So it smells like 1969 in here, is what I joke with people about it. So the things they do to make them Now again, if you're not familiar with the 427s, this is a 390 horsepower big block. Okay, big block Chevy. Now all big blocks look the same. Kind of did a video of the 454 engine on the stand that we got from our 72 454 they're going to be working on. But the 427 is very distinctive. It is a large bore, short stroke, big block Chevy that can handle actually more RPMs than some of your traditional small blocks. So if you look here, our red line on this car, on the 390 horse starts right at 5,600. On the solid lift cam motors and the square port heads that breathe a little bit better, they'll actually jump up to 6,500 for the red line. So they're pretty impressive, and a 427 is a very distinctive sound. And you know, I always tell guys, to me, most of it for me is the sound, guys. I'm a big unrepentant metalhead from the 70s and 80s. You know, I'm an Iron Maiden, you know, Led Zeppelin, anything metal, bass line, heavy bass lines, stuff like that, Metallica. And big block Chevys, big block Corvettes in particular, were what I can remember from my youth still cruising the streets. These dinosaurs still actually existed, and this is what I liked. I loved the sound of them, you know. And of course with the side pipes on them, they really rock and roll. So you know, these are not the fastest thing anymore by any stretch of the imagination. Computer controlled cars are great. They've done a lot to, you know, get power out of smaller displacement motors, but I really love the way these things hit when they're running. So I'm probably not going to fire it up for you guys today. I'll wait maybe another video to show you guys how it runs. And just so you know too, I did not start this car for years. It sat in my garage, and then a couple months ago I had to move things around. I did a spring cleaning video just for fun to show that I was having to pull cars in and out, and once I got out here and put it in the driveway, I put the plugs back in it, I put the wires back on it, made sure the oil was good, sprayed some starting fluid down the carburetor, and this old boy revved to life like he wanted to. He was ready to go. Now, the only thing being that, of course, the brakes were not just bad, they were bad, like bad gone. You can see there's no fluid left in that reservoir at all. So what I'm going to have to do today real quick is I'm going to go ahead and change out this master cylinder. Now, I went ahead, picked up a repo master cylinder for this car. Now what's interesting to me is, it's funny, is I just caught some guys on another channel. I don't know how it came up in my recommended, I guess just from the similar interests, but I caught some guys the other day. They were talking about a pair of Corvettes they bought, and they bought some I forget the years. It was early C3 and a maybe a mid 70s C3, I think. But the young man doing the voiceover did a great job with his video documenting the cars, but he seemed to be surprised that anybody would order up a car back then with manual brakes, no power brakes, just a stripper basically. And the funny thing about it, I'll show you guys right here. Okay, this is just 427, 390 horse, power, no manual brakes, right? There's no air conditioning on this car. The only thing it has added is not added, but it was an option at the factory, was power steering. This thing does not have any power options whatsoever. It's even got manual windows inside of it. So back then, you know, for the hot rods, they did not want power stealing or power robbing accessories on the motors to make them any slower. Now, heck, this car even, they ripped the smog pump off of it, which I've got to find a smog pump for it still, and plugged off where my smog pump ARR tubes would normally go on this. So, in fact, on this one, I think they just, one of them, I think they did a sloppy job on one of them, but I never bothered with it. So, manual brakes back then were the norm, and I'm going to tell you straight up, manual brake Corvettes stopped just as good as even a power brake Corvette set up like a 76 there. Think about it, these only have 7 years difference between the two of them. But these are not something to shy away from because they're lesser. They just don't have the vacuum booster. And the best thing about this, guys, is this thing requires two tools to take it off, a 9/16 and a flathead screwdriver if I really need it. Now, I was able to pick up a correct reproduction master cylinder for this thing. So the repops or the replacements are not going to have these little bleeder screws right here, which people always get confused by these. But this is actually a way to bench bleed the master cylinder from this point here back into itself so that you remove all the air bubbles from your passages through here. I'm not worried about that today. What I'm dealing with here on this one is this thing is completely frozen up. The bore in the cylinder is frozen. So I just want to get this off of here so that I can at least get some braking action to happen, so I'm not having to go up my incline driveway and kill somebody or wreck the car while I'm trying to drive it, because it's a 4-speed car too. It's not an automatic, so I can't like just throw it out of gear or whatever. So I've got 4 9/16 fittings. I got 2 right here, and I got 2 that fit in the firewall, and that's it, man. So real quick, I'm just going to take this off. I'm going to quit running my mouth because I do like talking about these older Corvettes. So we're just going to take these off real quick, get these out of here. That's one thing I have noticed with, let me position this so you guys don't have to suffer through me moving around. And see, I realize I've been talking for 10 minutes. But these are really easy to work on from this respect. Without all this power brake feature and everything else, you don't have to worry about it, you know? There's enough other complex features on this car, like this vacuum door set up for the windshield wipers. It'll drive you crazy enough that you don't want to have to spend extra time dealing with power brake boosters and all the other assorted nonsense that comes with it. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take this off. Got that one out. And I got that one out. You see those bleeder screws there. And we'll get this one out of the way. And I'll tell you straight up, this car here, when I first acquired it, I never bothered to pamper it, if you will. I used it in part of my daily routine, even taking and going to the shops that were buying parts from me. I'd drive this car. If it was a small enough part, I'd take the car with me, just to kind of, you know, show, hey, somebody's crazy enough to drive these older cars around. And I appreciate restored cars. I don't want to, you know, create an argument that restored cars are worthless or this. But to each his own, right? And I get the beauty of these when they're new. I really, really do. But I actually really enjoy driving them. So I refuse to take a car apart unless it just needs it. Unless it's just so far gone that there's nothing else we're going to be able to do with this. So the other thing they did here long ago, and I've never bothered to rectify, is they got a cable to tie up the back drive. This Corvette, the way it's made, back then their security feature, this was the first year for the interlocking steering column, by the way, just for trivia. And before then, the key was on the dash, and cars were quite easy to steal at that point. So what they did was, this was the first year of that interlocking column. It's actually even got a sticker on the column. It says, warning, damage may result to column if you try to force the key out of here without the shifter being in reverse. So yes, on the standard transmission cars, normal operation, the shifter has to be out of ignition. The shifter has to be in reverse before you can pull the key in the ignition. They call it the back drive cable. This car, the back drive cable broke on it, so they did not bother, sorry about that guys, to put it back together. So let me get here. You can see me take this one out here. So you can see, I mean, I love working on my cars. This is just part of what I like to do, but I really like driving them. So if I had to spend 90% of my time working on them versus just going out and taking a drive, it would probably drive me berserk, hooking up computers, and again, I don't dislike that stuff, guys. I mean, I really like new cars, and I like some of the luxury features on them. I've got a 2005 Suburban that I wouldn't give up to save my life, but I also like the simplicity of working on these, and these honestly are good for sorry about that. Good for people that are just starting out to work on their car. So, okay, there's my push rod right there. Let's see, there's my push rod. Alright, and the other thing about a manual brake car is you can see the rod just comes straight out and pushes against the reservoir. So let me see something. Let's just make sure that my brake pedal's free, because my brake pedal was frozen up before. There we go. That's what I was looking for. So 100%, my master cylinder was frozen. The bore in the piston in the bore was completely frozen up and wasn't going to come out of here. Wasn't going to move. You can see it's frozen just from sitting. You know, now I've always had it inside, but I knew it would probably be a problem. Now the other thing too is I can compare side by side. They did a really pretty decent job of making a reproduction of this casting. It's pretty cool. Now I don't have, my new one did not come with a gasket, but I think I'm gonna be okay for the moment. But I may throw another one in there. We'll see how it goes, how it looks like, because that gasket I'm not going to be able to reuse. That's just the original. But they even, if I'm remembering correctly, they even got the part number on here. So this is a 345-5509, and on here there's a 545-5509. So yeah, that's pretty impressive. To be honest with you, being a China built unit, that it actually has, they kept it that close to detail. I'm really impressed with that. So now obviously there's certain things maybe that I'm just not looking at the moment where you can tell, but I'll put this one to the side for now so I can save it for later, because I do keep my original parts off my cars. And let's go ahead and put this down again. I'm really breaking my rule here. This is just going to go on here now to protect it, to add a seal to it. I can get it to fit. There we go. Tight seal. And then that rod that comes out of the firewall is just going to go straight in there. So take my washers. Wish I'd gotten some new hardware while I was out. So put that there. Hopefully you guys can see this. And we're going to insert the rod here. Get that through there. That's right here. Let's see if it'll work for me. Hang on. As I claim, it's easier to put in. Let's do it this way. I'm going to go ahead and take this off of here. Take the boot off first. And put the rod through the boot. It's a pretty tight fit, actually. I think they wanted to seal that pretty good. There we go. That's on there. And we'll see how we can get this on when we're fighting the rest of it. There we go. Perfect. Okay. Now we come back. Oh, look at that. My bolts are a little loose. Come back. Make sure we don't block this up. And we're going to get one washer. We're going to put that back on there. It's as simple as that, guys. And the other, shoot, forgot to do that. Back drive cable, it's stuck. It ain't going anywhere. Plus, I want to put a new back drive cable on it anyway. So what's going to happen is, like I said, life gets in the way. Kids, running the business. You know, I'm the guy running around selling Corvette parts, but I never had time to actually work on cars that I had acquired that I had a personal interest in for the business. You know, even though it was inventory, it was still one of those things that was always neat, but I wasn't going to ever tear it up for parts. But now I've got some more free time. My oldest just graduated from high school, and my youngest is about to enter high school. And then I have my middle son, the one I mentioned the other day that's entering his sophomore year, the autistic son. So I've got a little more free time to play around with some of these inventory items and honestly show you guys what I'm doing, because this is part of the fun of it, really. What good is owning cars like this unless you can hang around and talk about them and have fun with them, you know? They're just big toys at the end of the day. Now, I will say, my friends used to be horrified at me because I would take this car to local drag strip on Friday nights. It used to be called Baytown, now it's Royal Purple Raceway. And man, I would drag race this sucker against all kinds of cars. I didn't care. And it never, even in an unrestored condition like it was, it would always run fast enough to get me kicked out of the track because I didn't have a helmet. Now, in drag race speak, that's right at about 13, low 13s. This car I think would usually clock about a 1320 or 1330 at the track, just as an old worn out 427. I would actually drive it to the track, let the guys do the tech inspection on it, and then I drive it. Now the other thing too we get here is we're at sea level, so we have a lot more forgiving conditions in Baytown. This was 23 years ago, but Baytown was a really good track. I think it still is, but man, the surface was really good and it was easy to get this thing down the track. And I seem to remember, trap speed wise, if that's what you're into, I could almost hit 110 miles an hour in this thing. I just don't remember off the top of my head, but I remember getting one or two good runs and then they'd be like, no, you need to go get a helmet, you're going too fast. I'd say okay, and by then what I'd usually do is break something on the car, and not break, I mean like I'd get the pull back too hard on the second gear shift, and it would, oh, there's a car wrecks on the freeway, and it would stick in second gear, so then I couldn't go any further. I'd have to get underneath it with a hammer. Like I said, all the hickeys and more. And again, with Corvettes, you're going to expect what they're going to do is the brakes and or the fittings or other things are going to break on them, so it just comes with the territory. But anyway, so get these two lines together. I'm going to put some fluid in this thing today, but like I said, all I really want to do today is get a movable working pedal to work with here, and then I'll probably bleed off camera. And next time I do a video on this car, I'll probably fire it up for you guys so you can hear, if you've never been able to listen to the sweet sound of a 427 at idle, you can hear me fire this thing up. And it's not even what I call radical compared to the big boys with the solid lift cams in them and tri-powers and other things like my 67 has. 67's a monster. And there's another car I haven't showed you guys yet, another 69 that I'll probably bring into the equation later. Just want to get to some of this now. And then what we'll do is me and the kids, my wife, will probably go for a little drive. So, alright guys, that's it. That's all there is to it. Put that fluid in there, get it primed and started.
little bit back there because I don't think I even have enough fluid for both reservoirs right now. A little bit in that one, and a little bit in that one. Really want more in my front one. All right. Okay. And let's put cover on. And that's it, guys. Man, with the GoPro, the only thing about the GoPro, guys, is my videos are way long, man, because I don't have any cut points on these. So that's going to do it for today. We got the brake master cylinder in. We will test it out, bleed it, see how we do. We'll go from there. So I'll catch up with you guys next week. Have a good weekend, okay, everybody? We'll talk to you then.